AI is a fundamental part of video games because it's the main way the game interacts with you, and as a result, it's a major way in which the game can build immersion. When the enemies feel unpredictable or dynamic, you have a much better experience than if they're just predictable and constantly running into walls. But what specifically makes a good game AI? Well, first we must understand the different types of AI in games. There are two main types: adaptive AI and traditional AI. Acer Corner describes it like this: traditional AI games rely on pre-programmed responses and decision-making trees. Adaptive AI takes things a step further. It allows in-game entities to learn and adapt their behavior based on player interactions. So adaptive AI changes how it plays in real time based on the player's actions to better suit the player's skill level and to make a more engaging experience. Traditional AI doesn't do this and relies on scripted responses. So adaptive AI seems like the best choice for games, right? I mean, I certainly think it would. It provides an in-depth, engaging, and customized experience for the player. There are some drawbacks, but wouldn't it still be the better choice? The popular stealth horror game Alien Isolation pulls this type of AI off really well, which results in a terrifying and unpredictable experience. So why aren't more games using adaptive AI if it's the better choice? Is it actually the better choice? Most games use traditional AI, including very popular titles like GTA 5 for its NPC behavior and No Man's Sky for its terrain generation. Again, games like SIFU, F.E.A.R, and The Last of Us Part 2 don't use adaptive AI, and yet they still have AI that's dynamic and difficult to play against. So, what's going on here? Why are games using traditional AI over adaptive AI? To understand why this happens, we must first understand the history behind AI in games. The first AI that appeared in a video game was as far back as 1978 in the game Space Invaders by Taito. In this game, the objective was to shoot as many aliens as you could before you got hit. This game was unique because it was the first to include enemies that reacted to player actions. The AI in this game basically did an action every time the player did an action. It was pretty basic, but it was the start of AI in video games. As this technology evolved, it became rare to see games that didn't have an AI controlling their enemies, even if it was a simple basic program like the one in Space Invaders. Adaptive AI with machine learning, as we would know it today, didn't come till a bit later with the release of Creatures in 1996. In this game, you could raise creatures known as Norns and teach them specific behaviors and words. Depending on how you trained your Norn, you could have it respond to instructions. Well, only if the Norn actually wanted to. So, Creatures shows how adaptive AI can be a great benefit for interactive NPCs. But what about games that use adaptive AI to plan against you? Enemies that learn from your actions? Difficulty that is constantly changing? Are there any drawbacks to this use of AI? Well, in 2014, the game Alien Isolation released with groundbreaking alien AI that reacts in real time to player methods and actions. This game was widely praised for its unpredictable AI that creates a constant suspense throughout the game. In addition from learning from the player, essentially, if you use the flamethrower too much, the alien would become less scared of it. The way the alien hunts you is very interesting. The alien's AI is best described as having two separate AIs, the director AI and the alien AI. The director AI is responsible for giving the alien AI hints at where the player is, but it's never allowed to tell the alien where the player is exactly. The alien has to figure that out for itself using a combination of things it would realistically be able to hear in that situation, like noises and other things that would alert the alien's attention. The alien's AI behavior uses a complex behavior tree that unlocks new behaviors as the player progresses to keep the suspense and difficulty up throughout the game. This, combined with the advanced pathfinding system, can sometimes make the alien feel like it doesn't follow the same rules as the player and teleports around the map to attack from unexpected places. But it never does. It's just really good at walking around and stalking the player. Another game that uses adaptive AI is Metal Gear Solid 5, which uses something called the enemy preparedness mechanic. It basically means that if you keep using certain tactics, the enemies will adapt to counter them over the course of multiple missions, essentially making sure that the player always has a challenge and always has to think of new ways to approach problems tactically. However, not all games that have a great AI system use adaptive AI with machine learning. In the 2005 game F.E.A.R. First Encounter Assault Recon, almost all the enemy AIs use something called automated planning. Tommy Thompson describes it really well in his article, but the brief summary is that the enemy AI takes into consideration its surroundings, other enemies, and the player's position, and then based on that creates a plan of what to do next. This plan includes what the other enemies are doing, and can result in enemies working together even though their code doesn't explicitly tell them to. Something I noticed while playing this game was that the enemies call out what they're doing next, such as searching, taking cover, or retreating.
Team, take cover. Fire. Search this area.
This made it feel like the enemies were thinking about what they were doing and not just mindlessly following pre-programmed actions like a zombie. Despite not using a fully adaptive AI system, this game did not disappoint when it came to an AI that felt challenging and dynamic to play against. The Last of Us Part 2 also has excellent AI mechanics. The AI controlling the zombies uses a layered finite state machine, which means that the enemies have different states that they switch between based on events in-game, like a sound or some other game event. Additionally, the enemies known as hunters are designed to feel like they are coordinating with each other and realistically hunting the player. Okay, so where does this leave us? I think that having an adaptive AI that uses machine learning is an incredibly cool and useful tool that builds immersion and atmosphere like nothing else in a game. However, as Elaine Kepchion says in her article, there are some major implementation issues that make it hard to use effectively. First, it requires an incredible amount of time and money to develop the complex and sophisticated algorithms required. Companies with those kinds of resources are likely going to spend them on something else like marketing. Also, with these complex algorithms, it makes it harder for gamers with lower-end hardware to run these games, which really limits the potential player base. Additionally, making sure the AI is balanced and not unfair is very difficult as well. Having an AI that is so good it destroys the player 9 out of 10 times would make the game not fun. If the AI continues to improve with the player, it can also make the game feel like it's changing difficulty arbitrarily, which, again, takes away from the feeling of improvement and fun in the game. In the game SIFU, released in 2022, the enemy AI was so good on launch it required players to basically have complete mastery over game mechanics to get through the initial levels of the game. Understandably, players were not super happy with this and stopped playing well before the finish of the game. As a result, difficulty sliders and settings were added not long after launch. This game didn't even use adaptive AI, but it's still a good example of how an AI that is too strong can feel completely unfair to play against. These drawbacks are why most games opt for a hybrid approach, where the AIs in-game play differently depending on what the player does, but they don't learn from the player's actions. And these systems can be really good, as shown in F.E.A.R. and The Last of Us Part 2. But with AAA games having budgets pushing $200 to $300 million for a single game, I think we should have some more cool adaptive AI in games. The companies have the resources, they just don't do it yet. As for indie games, which are on a much tighter budget, traditional AI systems can work really well. In Lethal Company, the enemy called the Bracken stalks you, the player, waiting for an opportunity to sneak up behind you and snap your neck. When playing against this creature, it can genuinely feel like it comes out of nowhere and is stalking you purposefully and thoughtfully. Anyway, let me know what you think about video game AIs. What are some of your favorites? Would you like to see more learning adaptive AI in video games? Or do you think the current traditional AI systems are good enough? Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye!